Well, hello there, and welcome back. We are now at installment number 8, the 8th episode of the War, Sports, Politics, and Dragons podcast. I am Dave, the Nerd Emperor, and I will be your host as always. Thanks for tuning in. We're growing. Help spread the word. Help me increase my numbers to qualify for a sponsor. We are not just on Spotify now, where we got our start. We're on Amazon, Audible, iHeartRadio, and others. So please check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We do appreciate your listen. We're on Twitter at the WSPD Podcast, where I am an absolute jerk to people, and you get to hear my unexpurgated comments on a great many things. In particular, I love making fun of royal families, including that of Britain, and people from foreign countries having opinions on America, especially Britain. Now, I love the British people in and of themselves. I'm an Anglophile, but I just feel duty-bound to remind British people that their opinions on what happens in America ceased to matter on the morning of April 19th, 1775, and nothing they say or do is going to change that. So I'm going to continue to make fun of them on Twitter, on YouTube, where you can also see/hear the podcast. It's audio only right now. Again, we're looking to get some support so we can get some tech upgrades. It's at the WSPD Podcast. We're on Instagram, the WSPD Pod. And coming up Sunday, again, that's my day where I try to get out and take photos to put on Instagram. But last Sunday I was miserably sick, didn't feel worth a crap. And this Sunday coming up, I might not be able to even get off my front step because of the weather that we've got coming. But anyway, on Patreon, it's patreon.com/WSP Dragons. Let's start that over again. It's patreon.com, patreon.com/WSP Dragons, and that is a work in progress. Again, if you want to help us improve our tech, Cash App is $WSPD Pod. Follow, share, like, subscribe, support, spread the word, tell your friends. I really would appreciate it. We put in some effort here, and we really would love to have the chance to reach out to more people. But that's enough of all of that. Let's get on with the show. We're going to start with, I don't know if this is considered a human interest story or what, but there's yet another viral video going around of yet another Karen. This time it's a customer at a Papa John's, and I want to say it's in Minneapolis, but that is probably incorrect. Basically, the long and the short of it is the woman brings back the food that she purchased at Papa John's, claiming that she didn't like it, that it was dry, that it was overcooked, and she wanted a refund. The problem is, as you watch and listen to the audio video, you notice that the overwhelming majority of the food has been eaten. She brought back the remains of 2 pizzas in a single pizza box. The breadsticks that came with the pizza are all gone, and the manager out and out refuses to give her a refund. And this is the correct call, folks. You can't buy a product that's edible, consume 75% of it, and then come back at people wanting a refund. I've got my own story about this. You will hear it in anecdotal evidence at the end of this here podcast. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that as well. I don't have any big news in the sports world. There's a little bit of stuff going on, but I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now because I'm really excited, I gotta admit, about the NFC and AFC championship games in the National Football League, which are going to be taking place Sunday afternoon and evening. And in Friday's podcast, it's going to be, the largest segment is going to be devoted to that. But today's largest segment is about the $15.64 per day argument. Geez. Folks, this is such a moronic argument that the Democratic Party is attempting to make, because it shows how incredibly out of touch they are. But here's basically what it boils down to. Brooke Rollins is the head of the United States Department of Agriculture. She is the Secretary of Agriculture. And there has been a running discussion about how much money it takes to provide sustenance of an acceptable level to the typical recipient of SNAP/EBT. And the number that the USDA is floating around comes to $15.64 a day. Now, notable left-wing idiots like Mark Kelly, the former astronaut, now senator from, I believe, Arizona, and New York incompetent Governor Kirsten Gillibrand, or not, I'm sorry, not Governor, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a different idiot, Kathy Hochul is the governor, have claimed that this is nowhere near enough. You can't feed yourself on $15 a day. That's just not enough money. How dare you? Where do you live where you can get eggs for $1.80 a dozen and you can get milk for $3 a gallon? Well, in my case, it would be somewhere near the Walmart in Cambridge, Maryland. Okay, so grab your socks and hose and pull, buckle up, put on your little helmets, honey. It's time to go take your walkie because school's in, and I'm going to break this crap down for you. You ready? Good. I'm ready. So let's go ahead and do this. $15.64 per day on groceries times 7 days in a week. Now, this is for one person's food. Let's say you're a single person living alone who receives SNAP EBT, whatever you want to call it, and you have to get by on $109.48 per week using your EBT card. Okay? I'm going to use the prices, and I only looked at one place, and that was the Walmart in Cambridge, Maryland, which is the nearest Walmart to me, for the prices of food that I typically consume and that many people would probably eat. And I also assumed that I was a member of the working poor. And what that meant was, yes, I was getting SNAP/EBT, but I had to basically make myself breakfast, pack a lunch, and have a dinner. Okay, 3 meals a day. But I'm going to do you one better because I have a plan here that keeps you under this amount. And not only do you eat 3 meals a day, you get an afternoon snack of junk food, and there's not a single day on this list where you get less than 3,300 calories. Okay? To put this into proper context, the number that people tend to look at as the minimum number of calories for someone, your typical 6 foot, 185 pound male to survive on is around, the typical person needs 2,000 calories a day, give or take. It's a little less for this age group, it's a little more for that age group, and so on and so forth. Okay? If you're, say, a soldier who's in heavy combat, you're going to need more. If you're sedentary and you don't do anything, then you could get by with less. But we have 2,000 is the number, but just for the sake of argument, let's say you need 2,500. Okay? 2,500 calories. That's a significant amount. Let's break it down for you, okay? Here's what you're going to buy on my meal plan, and with this meal plan, and this is just one example, this shows what you can get at the local grocery store here in the People's Republic of Maryland and keep yourself under that total. You ready? Okay. In this hypothetical situation, Dave, the Nerd Emperor, is on SNAP/EBT, is a member of the working poor, and goes to the store with his card for his weekly grocery run. Now, the food I would buy would vary from week to week because there is a variety of stuff available, and I wouldn't want to eat the same meal plan every week, but this meal plan has a significant amount of variety. It's got options. It's got stuff that is simple to make. It's low impact work. It's low impact work to get it done. You don't slave over a stove for an hour and a half to make anything. It's all fairly quick prep. You know, not a lot of brain work involved because I'm not the best cook in the world. I can prepare myself some basic meals, and that's what this is. Okay, we're not trying to get Albert Einstein to turn into a chef. What we're trying to do is feed a typical dude for a week. So here we go. You ready? And with each item, I'm going to tell you the individual item cost, and if I buy more than one, tell you the total cost. Starting with bread, you're going to get a loaf of, and almost everything here is generic because anyone with any sense buys generic over brand name whenever possible if the quality is acceptable. There are a few cases on here where I do get name brand things because the generic stuff I didn't like as much. There are also a couple of times where I will point out that I bought generic because it was actually better than the name brand. So, for example, Great Value is the store brand for Walmart. Okay? For other stores, it's got other names, Maker's Mark, Summit, whatever it might be. But that's the store brand here. Okay. Starting with bread, you're going to get one loaf of store brand, I'll just call it all store brand, wheat bread. One loaf of store brand wheat bread runs you $1.87. One loaf of store brand white bread is $1.48. 6 2-liter bottles of generic cola. At Walmart, it's called Sam's Cola. It's $1 a bottle, so it comes to $6. I know 6 2-liter sodas for a week is a little bit much for soda. I get that. I drink way too much soda, and I'm using this as a more extreme example. I don't drink a lot of tea. I drink soda, I drink milk, I drink water. That's really about it. So then I get a gallon of whole milk, which is $2.83. This is all available on the website for Walmart and on their app, which is what I use to compute this. The app was a little squirrely, though, and it crashed a few times. I guess it got a brain ache from all the stuff I was doing with it. But I got a gallon of whole milk for $2.83. And if you're curious, Cambridge, Maryland zip code, if you want to plug it in, is 21613. So that's where you would use your store locator. I think it's store number 2272. And the reason I know that is because I once briefly worked there. Anyway, and it's also on the receipts. So we've got a loaf of wheat bread, a loaf of white bread, 6 2-liter sodas, a gallon of milk. Okay? This week I don't buy tea. Next week I would. And we'll go over that as well. Actually, we won't because I'm not buying that. But anyway, you would then get 4 Great Value chocolate bars. These are not the typical Great Value chocolate bars. This size is 3.52 ounces. And they sell for $1.81 a piece. So 4 of them would run you a total cost of $7.44. And you've bought almost a pound of candy bars. 3.52 ounces times 4 is 14.08 ounces of chocolate. All right? And now, to understand how big these candy bars are, the typical candy bar you buy off the shelf, and I compare these to a Hershey bar, plain Hershey bar, because I don't like nuts in any of my food. I'm already nuts enough. I'll eat peanut butter in a Reese cup form, but that's the only time I like nuts at all. Like I said, I'm nuts enough. So you get 4 Great Value chocolate bars, 3.52 ounces apiece. They are twice the size of a regular store or brand name candy bar. Okay? A typical Hershey's milk chocolate candy bar is 1.55 ounces. So these are 3.52 ounces, which means they're 2 1/3 times the size, basically. And ounce for ounce, they cost less. I think I broke it down, and the Great Value chocolate runs you 54 cents an ounce, I think was how the website broke it down. And the typical Hershey bar right now runs $1.21 per ounce. They want $1.80 for a regular-sized Hershey bar at the Walmart in Cambridge, Maryland. So yeah, some prices are still high after Biden inflation, but eventually they're going to come down. Anyway, that's a different debate for a different podcast. Okay, so we've got loaf of wheat, a loaf of white, 6 2-liter sodas, a gallon of milk, 4 Great Value double-sized chocolate bars. We're then going to get a pound of Fiesta Blend shredded cheese. Now, this is a combination of like mild cheddar, Monterey Jack. I forget what's in it, but I call it taco cheese because when we would make tacos, that is what we would put on it, is that type of cheese. Now, one warning about American-produced, mass-produced shredded cheese real quick is that it has something in it called cellulose. That's wood fibers. Okay? Think about this. When you reach into a bag of modern-produced American cheese, except from a few companies, the overwhelming majority, you reach in, the cheese falls off, it doesn't cling, it doesn't stick, it doesn't clump up. That's because of the cellulose. It's wood. We're actually eating wood fibers in the cheese. But again, complaining about the quality of food that's most of what we eat in the country, we're not going to go too deep into that subject. Suffice it to say, we're just going to have to let it happen, okay? And I eat this cheese all the time. And millions of Americans eat this cheese all the time, whether they're on SNAP EBT or not, okay? This is not just the working poor and the not working poor. These are working middle class people who also eat this cheese, okay? Then you're going to get a pound of unsalted butter. Now, as I go down this list, a lot of this stuff has no salt, no sodium, low sodium, because I have 2 heart conditions and am trying to keep my sodium intake down, and I take pills to prevent my ankles from swelling because I have congestive heart failure, and that causes edema if you take in too much salt. Okay, so 1 pound of Fiesta Blend shredded cheese is going to run you $3.48. A pound of unsalted butter is going to run you $3.67. I use butter instead of margarine. If I used regular margarine, Blue Bonnet, Imperial, whatever brand you're talking about, the cost would have been halved. It would have been half as much. But I, for the sake of this discussion, am using butter because butter doesn't have as many oils and unnecessary additives in it as margarine does. Margarine is synthetic, crying out loud. Then we have a dozen large white eggs for $1.97. A 24-pack of sliced Great Value yellow American cheese. I don't like white American cheese. I don't know why, but I just never liked the taste of it. This 24-pack of cheese comes to $2.48. 2 pounds of Great Value sliced Black Forest ham in the packages at $4.12 a pound comes to $8.24. Then some more snacks. A 9.25-ounce bag of corn chips, which is generic Great Value's version of Fritos, for $1.97. Then for $2.24, a 9.75-ounce bag of nacho tortilla chips, which is Great Value's equivalent of Doritos. So we've got the generic equivalent of Hershey bars, and the Great Value chocolate bars are actually pretty doggone good. Generic Fritos, which are indistinguishable from regular Fritos. They're both salty as heck, though, and realistically, I shouldn't be eating them or the Doritos, but that's pretty much where I blow the dietary requirements up. And then you get 1 head of iceberg lettuce, which is selling for $1.97. A 5-pound bag of Idaho russet potatoes sells for $3.34. You're going to get one of those as well. Bananas are 20 cents a piece right now. I get 7 of them for $1.40 total. Then we get a 3-pound bag of mandarin oranges. I don't know the difference between a mandarin orange and a tangerine. To me, they seem the same. But anyway, I get mandarin oranges. It's $3.97. A 32-ounce bottle of Great Value ketchup is $1.97. A 20-ounce bag of stir-fry vegetables is $2.72. Then I get an 80-ounce bag of tater tots, 5 pounds of tater tots. I love tater tots myself. The only thing I like more in that form more than a tater tot is the hash rounds that they sell for breakfast at Hardee's. Oh, potatoes of the gods, I'm telling you, they're really good. But we can't afford Hardee's. We're on a budget, so we're going to get a 5-pound bag of tater tots. In theory, I could have a half a pound of tater tots with every meal for 5 days of this week, but I don't, and you'll see that as we go on. A 29-ounce bag of Tyson chicken nuggets comes to $6.46. I got Tyson instead of Great Value because the Great Value chicken nuggets are not very good. They do not taste, they're a little tough. They're, I think, made with rib meat, whereas these Tyson nuggets are made from white meat, and there is a huge difference. Then we add on a 20-ounce bottle of mustard for 88 cents. That's Great Value. 2 1-pound packs of ground turkey. Okay? What we're going to do with this stuff is brown it like it's basically burger meat. But it's turkey burger meat. Okay? And I happen to like it, and it costs less than half the price of ground beef. And even when we weren't struggling badly financially, I was buying ground turkey over ground beef because of the price, and it still tastes pretty good. I do love ground beef, but again, we're trying to stay within the confines of this budget. So we get 2 pounds of that at $1.98 a pound. That comes to $3.96. Then you get 1 pound of Rappa brand Scrapple. For those of you that don't know what Scrapple is a regional food, but I know that my cousin in Colorado eats it from time to time, and it's available over here in the Mid-Atlantic region. I think that the best kinds can be found here on the Delmarva Peninsula. Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia is where that gets its name. Rappa, R-A-P-A, comes from Ralph and Paul Adams, the names of the brothers that owned the company that produces this Scrapple. It is a pork product. You could almost call it a pork byproduct. Think of the first 5 letters of the word scrap. Okay, it is scraps. It's a lot of leftover pork products mixed together and formed into a big gray blob. But when you cook it, it's heavenly. It's really good stuff. It's way better than Spam. Okay, Spam's okay, but Scrapple is 5 times as good. So I got a pound of Scrapple. It's $3.12. A 30-ounce jar of great value mayonnaise. Again, we could have gotten whipped dressing, which is the equivalent of Miracle Whip. That has fewer calories. Mayo has higher calories than whipped dressing. So, and the price would have been comparable, but I'm getting mayo because I like mayo. 1 bag of cheese and garlic croutons. Again, this is great value for $1.42. A 16-ounce bottle of great value ranch dressing, $1.97. A 15-ounce, I think it is, bottle of low-sodium great value soy sauce comes to $1.58. 1 packet of taco seasoning, again, great value brand, 94 cents. A 12-pack of great value hard taco shells comes to $1.50. 3 cans of great value green beans, no salt added, 76 cents a can, total cost $2.28 for 3. 2 cans of French cut green beans, which are sliced vertically the length of the bean, so they're in strips, and that's because I actually use them in stir fries. Again, no salt, 76 cents a can, 2 cans, $1.52 total. 3 cans of no salt added sweet corn, 76 cents a can, $2.28 total. 3 cans of great value, no salt added green peas, 76 cents a can, $2.28 total. A 23-ounce jar of great value marinara sauce, $1.74. 2 cans of great value tuna in water, that's 96 cents a can, $1.92 total. 6 Roma tomatoes, 23 cents a piece. Now, they're not very big tomatoes, but you'll see why I use them. I don't really put Roma tomatoes on sandwiches, because they slice so small. They're such small tomatoes that I use them for other stuff. But 23 cents a piece, 6 Roma tomatoes comes to $1.38. 1 can of great value, 15-ounce can of tomato sauce is 96 cents. 1 can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, and I took that over the great value equivalent because Campbell's tastes better, is $1.07. 1 can of great value tomato soup, because I prefer it over Campbell's, comes to 70 cents. And then you wrap everything up with 1 pint of great value sour cream for $1.88. Your total cost, $109.10. The only things on here that are taxable are the sodas and the chips. Okay? But the way tax works when you're buying EBT is there is no sales tax on that stuff. Okay? So the grand and final total is $109.10. You had $109.48 to work with. So we came just under 38 cents under. We came in, we met the budgetary requirement, and we got a ton of food, and we got almost a pound of chocolate bars and 2 bags of Fritos and Doritos. Okay? In addition to regular meals. Now, here's your meal plan for the week. Okay? A typical on Monday morning for breakfast. We're going to start on Mondays. My weeks mentally start on Monday because I used to manage for Domino's and I used to manage for Papa John's. And the way those franchises used to do their scheduling was their work week began on a Monday and ended on a Sunday. And on Sunday night when you closed, you did all your weekly paperwork. And that's how my weeks run in my head. Even through all my time in the newspaper business, that's how it works for me. Anyway, you start on Monday and you end on Sunday night. So Monday morning breakfast, 2 ounces of Scrapple. That is a typical serving size, okay? 2 eggs, we'll say fried. I don't know. We'll say fried. We fry them, I have no problem frying an egg versus scrambling it. Either way, doesn't matter. And 1 pint of milk, not 8 ounces. I drink a whole pint of milk. Okay, and then 2 slices of white toast with butter. Total calories for that it actually comes to 815 calories. So that's a pretty calorie high breakfast. It's only a couple ounces of scrapple, a couple of eggs, a glass of milk, and 2 slices of toast with butter. But that's 815 calories. Lunch, a ham and cheese sandwich, 3 ounces of ham, 1 slice of cheese, on wheat with mayonnaise, 1 banana, a mandarin orange, and 24 ounces of soda. Okay, so that's a pretty big bottle of soda for lunch as I'm out working. That comes to 810 calories there. Okay. For afternoon snack, when I say get home from work and I'm not ready for dinner, I just want to munch on something, or this is also late evening post-dinner snack food. Put it wherever you want to put it. 2 ounces of corn chips. Now, when you're buying individual snack size bags of chips like this, they come in 1 ounce bags. Some of them are even just 3/4 of an ounce. So this is 2 ounces of Fritos and half of one of those big candy bars, which is the equivalent of a regular full-size Hershey bar. That's 550 calories in snacks right there. For dinner, 8 ounces of chicken nuggets. So we're going to get 10 or 11 chicken nuggets, 8 ounces of tater tots, a half a can of corn, a half a can of peas. That's 8 ounces of corn, 8 ounces of peas. So all told, that right there is 2 pounds of food. Okay? I am one of those weird people that will put ketchup on my peas and mix it up, but we're not going to factor that in. Add in 24 ounces of soda, 3 ounces of marinara to dip the nuggets and tots in, because I got to tell you, marinara sauce is a great dip. It really is. Okay? Not just for mozzarella sticks. It's great on nuggets. It's great on tater tots. 2 ounces of ranch dressing for dipping also. The total calories for this meal, assuming you ate all of the ranch and everything on your plate, which is a considerable amount of food. It's, like I said, 2 pounds of food. 1,660 calories. So your daily calorie total for Monday is 3,835 calories. For Tuesday, for breakfast, a grilled cheese with 2 slices of cheese. We use white. It's a grilled cheese, egg, and scrapple sandwich. 1 slice of cheese, 1 egg, 2 ounces of scrapple on white bread. Counting in the butter necessary, you're looking at a little over 500 calories for that. A mandarin orange, 50 more calories. A pint of milk, 300 calories. So you're looking at 910 calories for breakfast. Again, very high calorie meals here. And it's not garbage food that we're eating. We're not eating microwaved crap, that comes prepackaged. Like, we're not eating Hot Pockets and TV dinners here. We're making food that's cheaper and takes a very minimal amount of effort, okay? To grill it, to basically, what I'm doing here is I'm frying 1 egg, I'm frying 1 piece of scrapple that weighs 2 ounces, and I'm putting that on bread, putting the cheese between the egg and the scrapple. Then I'm greasing the pan again, putting the sandwich on the pan and browning both sides with a little bit of butter, and it's excellent. It's very good. It takes about 9 or 10 minutes. Very good. So again, that's 910 calories. Lunch, ham and cheese sandwich, 3 ounces of ham, 1 slice of cheese on wheat with mustard. That's 290 calories. A banana, 105 calories. Another orange. So you've had 2 oranges today. And a banana. So you're eating healthy stuff as well as eating stuff that's got some protein and some carbs. And yes, there's some fat in it as well, because I'm eating scrapple and I'm using butter. But 24 ounces of soda, again, roughly 725 calories for lunch. So that will fill you up a little bit. A sandwich, a couple of fruit, and a big drink. Afternoon snack again, half of a big candy bar. This time you're having 2 ounces of the nacho tortilla chips, the generic Doritos. 550 calories for that snack. Whether you eat it between lunch and dinner, or after dinner is up to you. For dinner, we'll take half a pound of turkey meat and brown it up and make it into taco meat with 3 ounces of sour cream, 3 ounces of Fiesta blend cheese, and a diced Roma tomato. You're going to slice it up as small as you can get it. Adding in the butter for the pan for the turkey meat, You're looking at 975 calories fats. That's considerably calorie heavy, okay? Factoring in also the taco shells, which are 55 calories a piece. I dab in a little bit of soy sauce when I brown it because it adds a little bit of tang and brings out more flavor. Of course, soy sauce can be really salty, and salt will bring out the flavor in things because it burns your taste buds, but it makes it more sensitive. But anyway, this uses half of a pound of turkey meat, as I said. Now, from yesterday, we had a half can of corn and half can of peas left over, so we're eating that as well. Having 24 ounces of soda, total calorie intake 1,350, daily total 3,785. So you're eating a lot of calories with this meal, okay? So what this means, if you're eating 50% more calories than you kind of should be, that you could make these portion sizes smaller, cut the calories, and thereby cut the cost of the meals. Okay? Wednesday for breakfast, we're going to have a grilled cheese sandwich. So 2 slices of cheese on 2 slices of wheat bread, counting butter, that comes to 340-ish calories. 2 eggs comes to 145. An orange, 50 calories. A pint of milk, 300 calories. 845 total for breakfast. Lunch, 2 tuna sandwiches on wheat with cheese, 1 slice of cheese per sandwich. Add in the mayo, you're looking at 660 calories. 105 calories come from a banana and a 24-ounce soda. That's actually 1,000 calories for lunch. It doesn't even sound like much. It's 2 tuna sandwiches, a banana, and a drink. Now, granted, 280 of those calories come from the soda. If you drank water for every meal on this meal plan, you would save $6 off of the total cost, plus you would save a couple thousand calories over the course of the week. And that's certainly fine if you want to do that. I just put in the soda as an option to show that, yes, you can have some things that aren't great for you on the meal, and as things stand right now, you can still get the stuff on EBT, or at least in this scenario you can. If you can't get soda and chips anymore, then it's simply snacks that aren't part of your diet, and you're saving 1,000 calories a day, because I'm basically adding in 1,000 calories of junk food every day, and you're still coming in under this target. That's the point I'm trying to make. The other half pound of turkey meat that you thawed out the day before and you cooked to make tacos, you're now going to brown it and mix it with half a bag of the vegetable stir fry, and again you throw in some soy sauce, and that really that's actually a nice meal. It really is. And then add a can of cut green beans, which you also stir fry. Okay, 24 ounces of soda, factoring in the butter, you're looking at around 925 calories for dinner. Total intake for the day, 3,355. If you take out all the junk food, take 1,000 off. So you're at 23 and change without junk food. And you're coming in $1.50 a day below this budgetary limit if you don't have junk food in here, the junk food that I added, which is actually fairly minimal. Thursday for breakfast, 1 egg, 4 ounces of scrapple this time, okay? Serving size of scrapple, again, is 2 ounces. It's about the size of, I hate to say it, but it's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, okay? 4 ounces of scrapple, 2 slices of buttered white toast, and a pint of milk, 820 calories. For lunch, ham and cheese sandwich on wheat with mustard, 285 calories, 3 ounces of ham, 1 slice of cheese. Serving size for ham, 2 ounces. So you're getting 50% more ham than you should, but it's only like 30 calories per ounce, I think. So it's not, it's not like you're slathering it with mayo and whirl. Whirl was something that we used to use to grease pans at Domino's, and it was 140 calories for every half ounce, and it was 14 grams per serving being a half ounce, and it had 14 grams of fat. So whirl was just yellow, buttery fat. We're not using stuff like that here, okay? In addition to the ham and cheese sandwich on wheat with mustard, which is 285 calories, you would then add a banana, an orange, 24 ounces of soda, 720 calories. Okay, without the soda, it's 440. Afternoon snack, again, half a candy bar, 2 ounces of generic Fritos, 550 calories. You can take it or leave it. You don't have to have it. If you don't get junk food, if you can't get junk food, then this simply isn't part of it, and no harm, no foul. For dinner, an iceberg wedge salad, which is a quarter of a head of iceberg lettuce, with 2 ounces of ranch dressing, one Roma tomato diced up, shredded cheese 2 ounces, and a third of a bag of croutons. That comes to, along with 4 ounces of chicken nuggets, so 5 or 6 chicken nuggets, 3 ounces of marinara for dipping, 4 ounces of tater tots, 2 ounces of ketchup, and a glass of water. We're actually having water with dinner this time. Calorie total 1290, total for the day 3380. Now Friday, grilled ham and cheese sandwich for breakfast on white with butter for the pan, 330 calories. An orange and a half pint of milk, you're coming at 530 calories. For lunch, again, you're having tuna sandwiches on wheat with mayo, and this time, instead of cheese, you're putting tomato on it. And then you're going to add in a thermos of tomato soup. So you're going to use the can of tomato soup, put it in your thermos, keep it warm, have that, and then you're going to have 24 ounces of soda. Again, total calories for that lunch, it's tuna sandwiches and tomato soup. And then add in a soda, 1,030 calories. These numbers are approximate, plus or minus 5%. For afternoon snack, an orange, a banana, and 1 ounce of Fritos. Calorie count there is 290. Okay, if you don't get the snack food, no Fritos, take off 140 calories. For dinner, you're going to take of the second pound of turkey meat, half of that, make 2 quarter-pound turkey burgers with cheese, ketchup, but no bread. We're just not going to make burger sandwiches. We're going to do it a little differently. What we do is we put the burgers down, and then we do the other half bag of stir-fry vegetables with butter and soy. That's a couple hundred more calories on top of 500 for the turkey burgers, and cheese and ketchup. Then add in a soda. Dinner, 980 calories. Total for the day is actually 2860. Okay, so that's the lowest. I'm sorry, I said 3,300 was the lowest. Friday's the lowest total at 2,860. But again, you're at 2,800 calories here. And if you take out the soda and the chips, you're at around 2,200, and you're still getting sustenance. You're still getting a significant amount of food. And you're staying under $15 a day. If you get rid of the junk food, you're under $13.50 a day. So again, these freaking liberals thinking that you need $100 a day worth of food to survive. For one thing, you can take your per diem and stick it up your ass, because I'm tired of paying it for you. Okay? You should be able to, that's what blows my mind about so many politicians, especially on the left. They're so incredibly out of touch with how much things cost nowadays. They don't go anywhere. I mean, Hillary Clinton, for God's sakes, I don't think she's driven herself around in a car for 35 years. Okay? Pampered, coddled, live in a bubble, unaware of what's going on. Meanwhile, I'm making this meal plan. It took me 2 hours last night, farting around on the Walmart site. I couldn't sleep. I said, I might as well do this anyway. So that's what I did. Now we're on to Saturday. For breakfast, a 2-egg omelet with 2 ounces of ham and Fiesta cheese, 2 ounces. Add in butter, that's 470. An orange, 50 calories. A pint of milk, 300 calories. By the way, the mandarin oranges, I counted the mandarin oranges in the bag they show on the website, and there were 17 mandarin oranges. We end up not using that many. We're still having oranges pretty much every day, but we're not using that many. So add an orange, a pint of milk, 820 calories for that breakfast. For lunch, another wedge salad with Fiesta cheese, croutons, ranch, and a Roma tomato. An orange and a glass of water comes to 900 calories. Because, to be honest, the ranch dressing and the croutons are the biggest calorie patters here. And the Fiesta cheese is over 100 calories per ounce, by the way. So, you know, that cheese as opposed to the sliced cheese, which is 75 per ounce, it's more calorie intensive. For afternoon snack, this time we're going to do a bowl of chicken noodle soup. So we're using that can of chicken noodle soup we bought, 12 ounces of soda, and an ounce of tortilla chips for a total of 430 calories. Lunch, by the way, was right around 900. For dinner, we're going to make a casserole that we're going to eat half of tonight and the other half tomorrow. What it is you take the final half pound of turkey, okay? You're going to make, my mom used to call this hamburger pie, so she did a pound of ground beef. In this case, we're doing a half pound of turkey just because we only had a half pound left. 8 slices of American cheese would go on the top, but underneath that, you've got a layer of tomato sauce, green beans, the meat, And then I mash up 3 russet potatoes, which should be just about enough because they're about, I assumed that they were a little over half a pound apiece. And put that all together. 4 servings of that comes to 1,380 calories. We're going to eat 2 servings of it, so we're going to have seconds. And it comes to 690. Add in 24 ounces of soda and 2 ounces of generic Doritos. We're at 1,250 calories for dinner, give or take. Daily calorie total runs you around 3,400 for Saturday. That's still, we're way over. Okay? For breakfast on Sunday, we're going to splurge a little bit and have 4 ounces of scrapple again, 2 eggs, an orange, buttered white toast, and a pint of milk. That's 950 calories. Have a big breakfast on Sunday. For lunch, a wedge salad with Fiesta cheese, croutons, ranch, 3 ounces of ham diced up by hand. Okay? Then we're going to bake a potato, a russet potato, add butter, sour cream, and Fiesta cheese, and have 24 ounces of soda. Amazingly, a salad, a baked potato, and a soda comes to 1,870 calories. Now, it's very carb intensive with the calories from the potato, but also there's a lot of cheese here. 5 ounces of Fiesta cheese, the croutons added up, a little bit of buttered sour cream added up, the ranch adds up. For afternoon snack, another half of a big candy bar, 3 ounces of tortilla chips, around 690 calories. So basically, we're watching the game, we're having a big snack in the afternoon, bigger than normal. For dinner, we're going to have the other 2 leftover servings of the turkey meat casserole from the previous evening, because each serving has 2 ounces of turkey meat, which is roughly 1 serving size. It might be a little on the low side, but if you're having seconds and it's not quite a full serving, then you're having more than 1 full serving. A banana, 24 ounces of soda, 2 ounces of generic Fritos, 1,355 calories. Your daily calorie total for Sunday, it's game day, so you're, going a little bit overboard. 4,800 plus. Okay, that's a lot. It's too much. All right? Now, here's what we've consumed during the course of the week. The week is over now that Sunday and dinner's over. We have consumed 5 of the 8 halves of candy bars. Okay, so you still got a full 3.5 ounce candy bar left and half of another one. We have eaten 8 of the 9.75 ounces of tortilla chips, 7 of the 9.25 ounces of corn chips, so there's still a serving or 2 left of each of those. 6 of the 7 bananas, there's still a banana left. We've eaten 10 oranges during the week. There's still 5 to 7 left in the bag. We've eaten about half a loaf of white bread, half a loaf of wheat bread. So we've got half a loaf of each of those left. We've eaten 19 slices of yellow American cheese, 8 of which went on this turkey casserole because we just bombed it with cheese. We put a lot of cheese on there. We've eaten 12 of the 16 ounces of scrapple. I may have added that wrong. We may have eaten all the scrapple. 10 of the 12 eggs, so you still got 2 eggs left. 6.5 of the 8 pints of milk in a gallon, so we've still got 24 ounces of pint and a half of milk left. We used both cans of tuna. We used both cans of turkey meat. We used 1 of the 2 pounds of ham. So you still got a pound of ham left. We've used 1 of the 3 cans of peas, so we've still got 2 cans of peas left. We've got 2 cans, I don't think we used any of the regular green beans. We used 1 of the 3 cans of corn, so 2 are left. We've used 1 can of French cut green beans, still have 1 left. We've drank 252 of the 405 ounces of soda, so we've still got 2 2-liter bottles of soda left over. We've eaten around 12 of the 29 ounces of nuggets. We've eaten 12 of the 80 ounces of tater tots, so we've still got over 4 pounds of tater tots and a pound of nuggets left. We used the 1 packet of taco seasoning. We used 3 out of the 12 taco shells. There's still 9 of them left. We used 5 out of the 6 Roma tomatoes. They're only about 10 calories a piece. So maybe in one of those meals, maybe on taco night, we went ahead and did another tomato, diced it up, or added tomato to sandwiches during the course of the week, whatever the case may be. We've still got 3/4 of a jar of marinara left, 2/3 of a tub of sour cream left, 7/8 of a jar of mayonnaise left, almost all of a bottle of mustard left, over half a bottle of ranch left, almost all of a bottle of ketchup left. We've got half a 5-pound bag of russet potatoes left over. The lettuce, technically, yes, we have 1/4 of a head of iceberg left over, but it's now been a week since you purchased it. It's been sliced, and you're going to throw that away. Okay, so the lettuce is all gone because 1/4 head of lettuce that's 4 days since it was first used is going to get brown, and that's no longer any good. Then you have around 6 ounces of butter has been used during the course of the week. Depending on your taste, it might have been a little less. You've used all but 1 ounce of the Fiesta Blend cheese, so you probably used the whole bag of Fiesta Blend cheese, and there's still almost a full bottle of soy sauce left. We used the 1 bag of veggie stir fry, we used the whole bag of croutons, we used a can of tomato soup, we used the chicken noodle soup, and we had around 24,000 calories, give or take, maybe 25, during the course of 1 week for one person, and we came in, again, at a grand total of $109.10 out of a limit of $109.48. So I can tell you this, okay? Kirsten Gillibrand, Mark Kelly, and I'm sure Nancy Pelosi and good old Chuck Schumer are in on this too. You can all collectively go to hell because you can actually budget yourself if you have any sense, and you can come in under the total. All right? Now, your results will vary if you live in areas like overpriced New York City or overpriced San Francisco, okay? But this is a prime example. I'm in a blue state, okay? The communists run Maryland, just like they run California and New York, okay? And this is what I have to work with. So I just worked with it, and I made it frickin' work. So the politicians that want to piss and moan about how you can't get by on that amount of food in a given day, shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Get out of your bubble. Come back in the real world. We have cookies. Actually, we have Doritos and chocolate bars. Okay? You're not getting any of it because I don't share my food with assholes. But, hey, it's okay. It's not like you work for us or anything. Now, moving on to the next topic, since we've put that to rest. Second Lady, the Vice President's wife, Usha Vance, has announced that she is pregnant with the couple's, I believe, 4th child, which means that there was some fooling around going on at the United States Naval Observatory in D.C., which is the official residence of the Vice President. Congratulations to the Vance family for their impending blessing, which will arrive. Let's see, if it was just announced and they just found out, then she's maybe no more than 2 months along, so 7 months from now, sometime mid to late summer, looks like they're going to have their 4th child. So congratulations on that. In sad news, an actor who, you never expect actors to get into much trouble, but anybody remember the old movie Dances with Wolves? It's a classic Kevin Costner film from 1990. They remade this movie in 2009 and called it Avatar. Okay? Because if you take the premise of Dances with Wolves and you turn the Native Americans into aliens and you turn the unexplored West into the search for unobtainium, you have Dances with Wolves in outer frickin' space. That's what I called it from the one and only time I saw Avatar, which underwhelmed me in terms of its plot and story arc. The special effects were great. It was a wonderful CGI film, but it was like, as the Critical Drinker has said on YouTube, it's like McDonald's, man. You eat it, but you don't remember it. There's nothing memorable about it, okay, except, wow, look at the fake scenery that they made with computers. Oh, gosh golly. Well, anyway, back to the subject at hand, Dances with Wolves. AP story by Jessica Hill, which came out on the 20th, which was actually yesterday afternoon. Gosh, I hate discussing stuff like this, but I'm going to. Dateline, Las Vegas. Prosecutors say Nathan Chasing Horse used his reputation as a Lakota medicine man to prey on indigenous women and girls and sexually assault them, while his defense attorney said during opening statements at his trial Tuesday that the former actor is being falsely accused. Best known for portraying the character Smiles a Lot in the 1990 movie Dances with Wolves, Chasing Horse pled not guilty to 21 charges, including sexual assault and sexual assault of a minor. Smiles a Lot, as I recall, was one of the adolescent boys in the tribe whom John Dunbar, played by Kevin Costner, becomes acquainted with. And I think Smiles a Lot is the one who tries to steal John Dunbar's horse, But the horse is incredibly smart and resilient and actually bucks him off, and he falls and breaks his arm in the film. I think that's the actor we're referring to. I think that's the one. The trial marks the climax of a years-long effort to prosecute Chasing Horse after he was first arrested and indicted in 2023 in a case that sent shockwaves through what's called Indian country. Dances with Wolves was one of the most prominent films featuring Native Americans when it came out 36 years ago. His trial also comes as authorities have responded more in recent years to an epidemic of violence against Native women. Wearing a blue tie and black suit with his hair pulled back, he sat quietly and took notes while his family sat in the back row of the crowded Las Vegas courtroom. Chasing Horse was born on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, which is home of the Sikangu Sioux, one of the 7 tribes of the Lakota Nation. After starring in the Oscar-winning film, Chasing Horse traveled around North America to perform healing ceremonies, according to prosecutors. And they said that he sexually assaulted 2 victims who were 14 and 19 years old at the time. In 2012, he allegedly told the 14-year-old that the spirits wanted her to give up her virginity to save her mother, who was diagnosed with cancer. He then sexually assaulted her and told her if she told anyone, her mother would die, according to the Clark County Deputy District Attorney Bianca Pucci, or Pucci, P-U-C-C-I. That's how it's spelled. Quote, she wanted to appease the spirits, unquote, she said, referring to the 14-year-old. Quote, she wanted to appease the medicine man, unquote. Craig Mueller, Chasing Horse's defense attorney, said prosecutors would present no evidence of the alleged crime, of the allegations, including no DNA evidence or eyewitnesses. Again, in a lot of SA and Grape Without the G cases, it's she said, he said, and it can be difficult proving it, especially if it happened a long time ago, as is the case here, according to these allegations. So we'll see how this plays out. However, Pucci showed photos of Chasing Horse with the 14-year-old girl who met him when she was 6 and played a respected role in Lakota ceremonies as a pipe girl. Chasing Horse had symbolically adopted her, and she viewed him as a grandfather, according to the prosecuting attorney. Chasing Horse, who was 36 at the time, allegedly took the 14-year-old on a road trip to different ceremonies. He repeatedly assaulted her in hotel rooms, and he had her get tattoos of a spider on her arms and hand to remind her not to tell anyone. Chasing Horse also has spider tattoos on his neck. Chasing Horse had her, quote, stuck in his web, unquote, Pucci told jurors. The 14-year-old and her mother moved from California to North Las Vegas to live with Chasing Horse and his multiple wives. That is a tradition in some Native communities to have more than one wife. It's not just for Mormons. There, Pucci said, Chasing Horse continued to commit these acts on this poor girl before she and her family found another place to live. In 2014, when she was 16, she moved back in with him and his wives. At 18, she changed her last name to his, convinced that Chasing Horse was doing good work and protecting her mom, who went into remission from cancer, the prosecutor said. Mueller compared the woman to an angry wife, saying she made false allegations and had lived happily with Chasing Horse for 5 years. Prosecutors made Chasing Horse seem like a monster when in reality he is well respected, Mueller said. He showed the jury pictures, including a family portrait with Chasing Horse and his wives, as well as photos of Chasing Horse at powwows. Just like any family, Mueller added. This isn't some bizarre pedo at large running around, he said. Pucci said prosecutors will show the jury a video to back up their allegations. Okay, so that, might make a difference if there's video evidence of any of this. She said jurors will also hear from another victim who was 19 when he allegedly did some things to her too. She also had known him since she was a child through ceremonies. She felt like he was a protector, a medicine man, part of the Lakota culture, Pucci said. The Associated Press, to their credit, typically does not name people who say they've been the victims of such alleged acts. Sad news there. Very sad news. Now, political / military news from Europe, where we get into the war aspect of the podcast. Members of different European Union countries are now floating the notion of a military alliance with Ukraine to... Sorry, hold on. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties there. Basically, what these European nations are talking about is, well, here's the headline. Europe ready to launch its own military alliance with Ukraine, according to Politico. This from MSN.com. Yeah. This is a joke. European countries are reportedly planning to establish a new military alliance to counter NATO, which may also involve Ukraine, according to Politico. U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to impose harsh trade tariffs on any countries that try to prevent him from establishing control over Greenland have been the final signal for Europe to take action. Well, that wasn't an editorial-type comment at all. Are they quoting someone claiming that they said it was the final signal? No, it didn't say may have been the final signal. Have been the final signal. See, this is where this alleged practice of journalism becomes activism and agenda-based, quote-unquote, news reporting. Okay? The way this is worded, this sounds more like an editorial than it does reportage of news and current events. In the absence of a radical change in Washington's course, this development is likely to lead to a profound transformation of the West that could radically alter the global balance of power. European states are increasingly inclined to create their own security system in which Ukraine could play an important role. You know what Trump has done that's so bad? I'll tell you what he's done that's been so bad, is he's told the EU, whom by and large comprise NATO, okay, that they need to uphold their treaty obligations to fund NATO with, I think it's 3.1 or 3.2% of their GDP annually. Some countries contribute as low as 0.7% of their GDP to the military alliance that is NATO. Okay? Most of the countries, pretty much all of the countries in it, if you look at charts, if you Google NATO spending by nation as percentage of GDP, you will see that pretty much America is the only country in the whole alliance that actually ponies up the amount it's supposed to, and we overpay. Just like with the United Nations, which is based in New York City, so it's going to stand to reason we're going to put a lot of money into it, but we put in more money, I believe, to the UN than not just any other nation in the world, but a majority of nations in the world. Okay? Now, granted, we have the largest defense budget of any country in the world, and as a matter of fact, our defense budget is bigger than the whole budget of most countries on Earth. And I think our defense budget is bigger than that of like the next 10 biggest countries combined. So we have a huge defense budget here. The military-industrial complex makes tons of bones in America. And I'm not a fan, but for the purposes of what we're talking about now, we're going to have to move on. As the agency notes, European countries, including those that are not members of the European Union, such as Britain and Norway, you remember Brexit a few years ago, Britain dropped out, which was kind of ironic for people in Scotland because by and large polling showed that the Scots wanted to stay in the EU, but they voted not to separate from Great Britain and become an independent nation state, but instead chose to remain with Great Britain, whereupon Great Britain then left the EU. So, here's to you, Scotland. Good job. But European countries, including those that are not members of the European Union, Britain and Norway, spent a significant part of Trump's second presidential term, which is only a year long. This sounds like it was written 4 years later from today. Working within an effective format of cooperation that functions without U.S. participation. This is the so-called coalition of the willing. So they're ripping off a term from an American president from 2003's Gulf War. Because George W. Bush called the nations that wanted to help him against Saddam Hussein in that ill-advised war, he called them the coalition of the willing. I personally think that there's a much better name that they could use for this, and I think it would be an accurate reflection not only of the goals of this organization, but of its expected efficiency and efficacy. There you go. There's the word I'm looking for. And I think it will reflect the outcome, and I think they should call it the frickin' League of Nations. Okay? Because just like that failed organization, this one's probably not going to accomplish a whole frickin' lot either. Okay? And just as was the historical case from 1919 until the League fell apart in the late 1930s, America was not a part of it. The Senate vetoed Woodrow Wilson's bid to put us in the League of Nations, as you may or may not recall. So, hey, that's fine. That way this is Trump playing 4D chess. He's told them to pony up on their NATO obligations, but Orange Man is bad, and these servile left-wing European ideologue jackoffs are so obsessed with their hatred of the current American president that they're actually doing his bidding without realizing it. Because instead of putting the money into NATO, they're putting the money into the new League of Nations. So they're creating a military alliance with the money that should be going to NATO. So essentially it's still being spent on the proper thing, and they don't even realize they're playing right into Trump's hands. Okay, this is how frickin' stupid you get when you're blinded by ideology. Okay? And there's a reason that the political right is rising more and more in Europe. That and unchecked immigration and Pakistani rape gangs overrunning Britain, okay, in a country where my daughter was raped by a Pakistani. How horrible. You would probably get arrested for tweeting that if it happened. The Pakistani rapist who did it would probably get a slap on the wrist and no jail time for actually committing the crime, but you would get 2, 3, 4 years in jail for tweeting that the guy was an asshole for raping someone. And I don't care if I get a strike on YouTube, because quite honestly, you people are morons at YouTube, and I'm not a fan of how YouTube runs things. So, whatever. Leaders of state, including British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. By the way, Keir Starmer's approval rating right now is in the mid-teens. It's actually below what Venezuelan communist dictator Nicolas Maduro's approval rating was before we grabbed him and brought him to trial on all the drug charges he's facing here in America a couple weeks back. French President Emmanuel Macron, who's married to quite possibly the ugliest woman in human history, so ugly that Candace Owens is still disputing whether or not she's a woman. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and we're not going to talk about the Germans lecturing anybody on morality because they forfeited that right on January the 30th, 1933. Okay? European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni are in constant contact, often within a single group chat. Now, Meloni, as far as I know, is the only actual conservative out of that group. Over the past year, they've developed a clear mechanism for the rapid exchange of information whenever Trump's actions create potential risks. See, again, this is editorializing. This isn't whenever, as they claim, Trump's actions create potential risks. What they're doing here in this article is basically creating the false assumption and creating a false premise that Trump is doing bad things. This informal group has been dubbed the Washington Group in honor of the joint visit of European leaders to the White House, accompanied by former stand-up comic, general asshole, corrupt scumbag, and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Don't get me wrong. I frickin' hate Vladimir Putin, okay? He puts the dick in dictator. And he is running Russia, by and large, into the ground with a long, costly, stupid, pointless, and unsuccessful war. Okay? He's a maniac. But Zelensky? Okay, Ukraine, you realize how many politicians have family members, or they themselves have huge financial interests in Ukraine? It wasn't just the Biden crime family, folks. There are Republicans involved in this, as well as Democrats. Ukraine has been called an oligarch's playground because of the corruption. And it happened by and large as a result, and not that I'm endorsing that it stay together because it was brutal in and of its own self, but this all is kind of a side effect of the collapse of the Soviet Union, where basically nature abhors a vacuum, and when you have no clear power structure, strongmen can come in. And what you have is not paramilitary, but quasi-military organizations within the country that have a lot of political sway and a lot of financial pull. And Ukraine has got a massive corruption problem. Okay? And then when they try to investigate foreign people for influencing them, then the Vice President of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. of Delaware, calls someone in the power structure of Ukraine and says, if you don't fire the prosecutor investigating me and my son, then we're going to cut off aid. That's what's called a quid pro quo. Trump was impeached over that shit. Let's not forget. But good old Sniffer, okay, that senile do-nothing from Delaware, got away with it because reasons. Because D. That's why he's got a D after his name. According to one diplomat, the coalition of the willing initially formed around support for Ukraine, which of course was primarily funded by America. But over time, it has grown into a close network of contacts between key political figures in European capitals. This has strengthened trust and simplified coordination. The participants know each other well and can quickly get in touch. Zelensky, by the way, let's remind everyone real quick, Zelensky is no longer a legal president because he has served past his official, legally mandated term of office and has suspended elections. He has also banned all opposition political parties. He has also nationalized the news media, so the Ukrainian government has say over what the media reports there. So gosh, I wonder why we hear just sob stories from Ukraine, whereas regular people on the street go into nightclubs in Kiev, and I will not call it Kyiv. It's never been Kyiv. It's been Kiev since I was 17 years old, reading about the war between the Germans and the Russians from 1941 to 45. So you're not just going to change it to Kyiv, K-Y-I-V. Didn't see it spelled that way until 2022. It's been K-I-E-V for English readers for centuries, but, you know, whatever. You can see footage from nightclubs in Kiev that are packed to the gills with military-age males trying to hit on young women when there's supposedly a war on just a few miles away. Why aren't they fighting? If they're so desperate and things are so bad, Kiev geographically is not very deep into the interior of Ukraine. Kiev is a short car ride from the Belarusian border, and Belarus is a client state of Putin. Okay, it's essentially not a puppet government, but it's the next best thing. Okay, Belarus is to Russia right now what Hungary under Admiral Miklos Horthy was to Hitler in 1942. Okay, they have a military alliance, they're in cahoots, and they have joint military operations, and Belarus is in Russia proper's pocket. Okay, so Zelensky regularly participates in the correspondence of the Washington Group leaders, which, as Politico notes, adds another important dimension to this cooperation. Ukraine is the most militarized country among the participants, with a large army, a developed high-tech drone industry, and unique combat experience. I know, they're just so great there. Ukraine is strong, though. For those of you Seinfeld fans out there, never forget, Ukraine is strong. And I'm not dissing the Ukrainian people, but Zelensky is a smoldering pile of pig dung. And you'll never convince me otherwise. He's corrupt. He's a role player. He's pretending. That's why he always pretends to wear informal clothing that's borderline battle dress uniform type stuff. Like, he's going right out to the front and fight. Yeah. I'm sure he's gotten his fingernails dirty in the last 10 years. Combined with the military capabilities of France, Germany, Poland, and the United Kingdom, such a coalition could become an extremely powerful force, uniting both nuclear and non-nuclear states. Earlier, the coalition of the willing, by the way, Ukraine is a nuclear state. There is still a significant stockpile of old Soviet-era nuclear munitions floating around, and a fair amount of it's not even accounted for. So, think about that. Earlier, the Coalition of the Willing, or as we'll call it more accurately, the League of Nations, held a meeting at the level of the commanders-in-chief of the armed forces of the member states. Ukraine took part in it, and the parties discussed the implementation of security guarantees for Kiev. So, kudos to the Euros for their new alliance, yo. Good luck with that. And the sad fact of the matter is that America, if it isn't careful, is going to get sucked back into the broils of Europe, as they're called. And it's not going to require the assassination of an Austrian Archduke and unrestricted submarine warfare by the Germans against us. It's just going to require the Republicans losing the 2028 presidential election. Because you heard it here first, the Russia-Ukraine war will still be going on at the time of the 2028 presidential election, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, buddy. But when I see the way the war is being fought, the way it has been fought, the way things are going, and the management and mismanagement on both sides, it's going to keep going on. It is the Vietnam of Eastern Europe. It is the Afghanistan of Eastern Europe, okay? And when I say the Afghanistan of Eastern Europe, I'm referring not just to our involvement there from 2001 to Biden's reckless pullout in 2021. I'm talking about when the Soviets invaded there in, 1979, and were there for a decade or so. This is just a more high-tech version of Vietnam and Afghanistan, but with slightly different politics and more paved roads. Okay, a little bit higher tech. But now we're going to wrap things up with anecdotal evidence. We were talking about a Karen in a pizza shop in a Papa John's. I have a story to share, and I have a number of stories from when I was a restaurant manager of things like this, including one from the Papa John's in Easton, Maryland, where I really had to restrain myself to keep from basically doing something that would have put me in jail over a jackass customer. But we're going to talk about the quick shop sausages, and that's right, folks, we're going back to 1987. This time I hadn't been there 2 weeks, so it's late February 1987. Doc's Quick Shop, Cambridge, Maryland. It's a Rise Up coffee store off of westbound 50, just east of town now. Back then, it was a Shell station and part of a small local chain of 7 or 8 stores called Doc's Quick Shop. It's a Sunday morning, and I have not been in there to work for long. I probably got in at around 8. The person that opened the store at 6, so they had to be there at like 5:30. And it was Brenda, the assistant manager. So Brenda and I are working on Sunday morning, and I'm doing my usual routine of, fronting and facing the inventory on the shelves and sweeping up and keeping the coffee pots full and cleaning the parking lot and dumping the trash and all the little things that they hired me, a teenage kid, to do. And a couple comes in, man and woman, and they proceed to get a cup of coffee apiece, and they buy sausages, like kielbasa, bratwurst type sausages. And, they come on a bun. And we didn't have, onions or sauerkraut available because it was a cost and cleanliness issue. We didn't bother to have out a fixins bar, but basically you could get hot dogs and sausages out of the machine at one end of the counter where the registers were, a la 7-Eleven, except this was self-serve. You would get the buns out of the bun warmer yourself and, load it up with ketchup, mustard, and I think we had relish. So this couple buys sausages, and it just so happens that morning, Brenda let me have one. She gave me one for breakfast because I came in and I was like, yeah, I overslept. I didn't get a chance to eat breakfast at home. She says, well, go get a sausage. Are you sure? Yeah, go get a sausage. So I had a sausage, and basically they were similar to a bratwurst, but they were a little more sausagey, if that makes sense. I don't quite know how to subscribe to how to describe it, but that's basically what it was. So I had one that morning, and it was actually not bad. It was actually okay. So this couple gets their coffee, and they get their sausages, and they pay, and it comes to, I don't know, $4.80 or something. It wasn't terribly expensive, because again, this is the 80s. Nowadays, hell, just the sausage would run you $5. But back then, it was, a lot cheaper. Of course, people made less, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, they get their stuff, they pay, they leave. And I'm puttering around in the walk-in cooler, putting up, topping off inventory of, Oscar Mayer stuff and cheese and the dairy and so on and so forth. And they come back in with their food, but not their coffee. Come back in with sausages that had been mostly eaten. One looked like it was about half eaten. One had maybe a bite or two left. And these are, about 6-inch sausages. So you bite off about an inch each bite. So there's 6 bites. So someone had taken 3 bites out of 6 on one sausage, and someone had taken 4, maybe 5 bites, and there was just a stub of a sausage left, and they want a refund. But they don't just want a refund of the sausages. They want a refund of the coffee, too, because the coffee was too strong. All right, look, disclaimer, I am not a coffee drinker. I have never had a full cup of coffee in one sitting in my life. My dad and I had a strange habit of Dad making a cup of coffee, putting his cream and sugar in it, and then grabbing a block of Longhorn cheddar cheese out of the fridge and a sharp knife and cutting off little chunks of Longhorn cheddar, dipping it in the coffee until it would start to melt, and then dipping it out with a spoon, whereupon he and I would each eat it. And we would sit there and eat cheese while he drank his coffee. We did that a lot. I don't know who else has ever done it, but we did it. It was a thing, and it was actually really good, but I just don't drink coffee. I never liked the taste of it, and honestly, I think people that drink iced coffee nowadays are kind of weak. I think that's lame as hell. You're supposed to drink coffee hot. Iced coffee. Oh, iced coffee. I need my hand held while I walk across the street. That's, to me, iced coffee is just a sign that you're a beta. I just believe that. That's sorry. Not sorry. But anyway, they want their money back for everything. Well, where's the coffee, Brenda says. Oh, we drank it, but it was terrible. Uh-huh. And you're bringing me back sausages that you've eaten almost all of? Yeah, we tried to finish them. They were just awful. We want our money back. And she just looks at him and says, I'm sorry, I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? You've eaten most of the sausages and you've drank all of the coffee. I can't refund you for something that you've already finished, basically. Well, this is ridiculous, the man says. I don't understand what you think you're trying to do here. You're just going to rip us off over these sausages and coffee? She says, it's not a matter of ripping you off. It's a matter of you eating the whole thing before you realized you didn't like it. If you ate the whole thing, then you did enjoy it enough to keep eating. If it was that bad, she said, I remember her saying, if it was that damn bad, you would have taken one bite and walked right back in here. Well, they went back and forth for a couple more minutes, and Brenda stood firm. And, of course, Karens were a thing back in the 80s, too. They just weren't called that because there was no internet for them to become so publicly known. But they kept going and wanted to see the manager. She said, well, I'm the assistant manager. The manager is on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so I'm it. Well, this is unacceptable. I just can't. I'm never going to come here again. She says, well, I've never seen you before. So have a nice day. Thank you for your time. And then she proceeds to turn around, open a carton of cigarettes, and start stocking the cigarettes on the counter directly behind the register. She basically turned her back on them. She bi-Felicia'd them. And The husband and wife looked at each other, and the woman called her a bitch and then turned around and left. And when they left, in the position Brenda was standing, behind her was the cash register where the couple was standing. If the couple, while facing her behind the cash register, turned left, they went out the door of the store. Okay? Then if you make a right as soon as you go out the door, you would walk past a large window that showed you the behind the counter area. So as they walked out the store and went past that window, they looked at Brenda, and Brenda looked at them, and the woman flipped her off. And I'm like, yeah, well, gosh, I wonder why you didn't get your refund. You're such a great person. So it's not a funny story this time, except that Brenda looked at me, and I looked at her afterwards, and she said, fuck them. If anybody ever tries that shit with you, you do the exact same thing. And I'm giving you authority right now. If you're ever running a register and somebody tries this stunt with you, you tell them you're the manager and they can just go to hell. I was like, okay, cool. So in a way, I got my first promotion after just 2 weeks stocking shelves and sweeping floors at the Quick Shop. But I never got the chance to exercise that authority because nobody ever complained to me about the quality of the food. So that was an opportunity missed, but I guess I'll live. And anyway, that's going to conclude our podcast for the day. Please follow, like, subscribe, share, spread the word. Give us a 5-star rating. I'd like to think we're trying here to be at least a little bit entertaining. Leave a comment, answer my poll, interact. I respond to all the reasonable comments, but as I've said before, unreasonable people and trolls can get a life. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify, on Amazon, on Audible, on iHeartRadio, and on others. My email for story and discussion topic suggestions is WSPDpod, WSPDPOD at gmail.com. Drop me a line. Love to hear from you. You can also donate to help us get better tech. My Cash App is WSPDpod. Help us get some better technology because then we can do bigger and better things with this podcast and grow it even more. My email again is WSPDpod at gmail.com. My Twitter is at the WSPD Podcast. Follow me on Twitter. My YouTube is at the WSPD Podcast. Patreon, still in the works. Sorry, I've not been feeling well lately. Patreon.com/WSP Dragons. Instagram at the WSPD Pod. Got some nature pics coming soon. I'm telling you right now, when they come, they're going to be awesome because I'm a very good photographer. Other socials, of course, are coming soon as well. Thanks again for listening. Subscribe, spread the word, and help me entertain and annoy more people. This is Dave, Emperor of the Nerds, signing off. Have a great rest of your day.